Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 36 of Off the Puck Hockey on the FHN Network and Rogers TV Channel 20. OTP is streaming across all the major platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, you name it, YouTube. You can download the Off the Puck podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. I'm your host, Tyler Fines, and with me, as always, are my boys, my co-hosts, Adam Stiles and Mike Walker. What's up, Stiles?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Good, yeah. Having a good weekend, watching the golf?
Yeah, been glued to the TV, basically. Yep.
Oh, well, I'm sure we'll circle back to that. And, of course, we got Mikey Walks. What's up, Walks?
Not too much, fella. Happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've been did you put any money down in the golf?
Threw a couple $10 wagers down. I got DJ as one, and I went with Paul Casey as my other lockdown.
He looked good early, but we're he's turning a corner. But
Yeah.
DJ's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
But you know what? Today we got a very special guest coming live to us all the way from Latvia. We've got the original Magic Man in my eyes. This is Rob Schremp. Robbie, what's up?
Hey guys, how are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure, especially for me being such a hockey nut, and obviously, in my opinion, having you on the show is it's great for me because I've always wanted to ask you kind of where you came up with all these great ideas, and in my eyes, you really changed the stick handling game and back in when you were playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. No, it was inspired by Mike Legg for sure. When I was a kid, I had some older. My cousin Chris. He's about 12, 13 years older. He was playing high school hockey, and he was doing the Mike Legg. And at the same time, I was right around 11, 12 years old. I was playing lacrosse. So I started doing the Mike Legg, and then I started doing some lacrosse stuff, and it just transitioned over and kind of doing it on breakaways or even during the course of play. So just trying to cross-pollinate in lacrosse and hockey for me, it was a lot of fun. And then the reaction, obviously, I was starting to get people. It wasn't seen very much back then or at all. So when I started doing there was definitely a reaction to it. And, it's just kind of, I just love the emotion that it would bring, and the guys on the ice would love it. Opposing teams didn't like it so much, but it was definitely fun to do. And it was just, for me, it was a lot about just getting creative with the puck and doing cool things, and that was, once I started doing that, it was hard to keep it on the ice and just stick handle.
Yeah, no, and that's the best part about it is it literally changed the way a lot of these kids stick handle, and some of them don't understand where it came from, and I still put you as number one as the guy who really made it mainstream and with the lacrosse goals and the stick handling and just looking like you're actually having fun as opposed to playing robotic, right? So, where'd the inspiration come from outside of Mike? Like what inspired you to actually put it into a game and give it a try?
Two parts really. Part is you wanted to have that effect and the shock and awe. And the other was having that kind of in your bag just whenever it might need to come out or whenever it could be useful. It's definitely another tool if you see that, now it's the Schweitnikov, if I say it right.
Yeah.
It's so, there's two sides of the argument. There's, well, they shouldn't be, why should you? There's people that say, why is he doing that? And my answer is, why wouldn't he do that? It's a goal. It's a trick in your back. You can't score from behind the net unless you pull that off, right? Or if you bounce it off the goalie's leg, but it just brings another tool, another threat, so to speak, is him being a player that can do that. So it's really kind of having it. It's not always necessary, but it's nice to have different tricks in your bag. And that doesn't have to be a trick. It's a tool, really. Some of these moves, even like the, between your legs, kind of breakaways, there always was a little bit of backlash on that or back push on that. But if you think about it, objectively, you come down on a breakaway, you go from left to right and you go to your backhand. Sometimes your backhand's kind of weak compared to putting it through your legs, taking a forehand snapshot through your legs. Now it's hot doggish, but it changes the angle, changes the trajectory of the shot. Sometimes the goalie bites on that move. I think, like Thomas Hurdle's unbelievable at it. And I think the game's evolving, but for me back in my time, it was a lot of new and it was a lot more pushback on it. Like, what the hell?
There's probably like three guys that can do it now. Like everybody can do it whenever they want. It's freaking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. And yeah, so speak on that topic a little bit, being a goalie, and yeah, that was definitely those little moves. They toss you off big time, and they play in your head. So yeah, there's definitely a tool in the old bag there. I agree with you 100%. I want to kind of start off. What kind of made you decide to come over to Canada and go the junior route instead of the old college route?
For me, I started playing Tier 2 at 14, and that's obviously those Canadian boys and being up in that league, and it's a lot like the OHL, the style of hockey, a lot of games. And also Tim Conley was a guy that was right around from my neck of the woods, and I grew up watching his path, skating with the same coach, Don Kernan. So I was really envious of what he was doing, and when he was on the ice, he was nasty, like the sickest player I've ever seen with the puck. His hands were so good. And I just grew up just idolizing him, and I wanted to take his path. So at 14, I started to progress pretty well. I had a really good year as a 14-year-old at OPJHL. And then the second year at 15, I think I was first or second in the league in points. So I was really kind of progressing. And then the OHL was obviously knocking on the door. A lot of scouts were at those games, a lot of talk, and just wanted to take that next step. And I felt like, the next step towards making a career out of hockey, which would be NHL and get into that draft. So it was kind of written in the sand for me when I was 14, 15-ish. I wanted to jump to the next level. So playing junior at that level, Tier 2 junior, for another 3 years to go to college really didn't. It wasn't really something I was thinking about doing. I wanted to get better and better, and OHL was the next step at 16. So it kind of went like that. And then obviously Timmy, like I said, Tim Conley got drafted first round OHL and then first round NHL. I really wanted to kind of follow his path and make a career out of hockey.
So exactly. So yeah, you go first overall OHL to the Ice Dogs. You have yourself a killer year, 74 points, 65 games, rookie of the year.
Oh no!
What did that mean, making such an impact so early?
Sorry, what was that? It glitched.
Yeah, what it mean to you just coming into the league and winning like rookie of the year? Oh yeah, you have a big storm down here. You gotta give me a break. Yeah, what it mean to you just coming into the league so early and winning the rookie of the year and just making such a big impact for yourself?
That was a lot. It was a big eye opener going to the OHL and making that jump. Steve Ludwig was huge, very instrumental to my career and to that season especially. I came into camp, and going in before that, I was all talent and really didn't understand all aspects of being a hockey player. And came in camp a little out of shape, and Steve kicked my ass into shape and taught me, really kind of guided me into what it meant to be a hockey player. So that first year was a lot of learning, and eventually it wasn't smooth sailing out of the gate. I didn't score my first goal for I think until a month into the season, which was not really, that was like a shock to me. I was really frustrated going into that point. I was always scoring goals. I never gone a month without a goal since the time I was probably 9-10 years old. So there's a lot of things that shock you, and how you would, kind of adjust to it or adapt to it or accept it. Having Ludsey there was amazing because he was just very supportive, and it was, when I needed tough love, he was tough love, but when I needed to be kind of guided, he guided me, it was great. So I learned a lot that first year, and then getting to see a guy like Patrick O'Sullivan and watch him perform or play was special. He was one of the most skilled players I've ever seen as well. I've never seen a guy. He just, whenever he wanted to, he would turn it on, and nobody could stop him. You learned a lot that first season. So winning rookie of the year was awesome. And, having that, draft class of 86, so to speak, you're always competitive with each other. And, Wojciech Wolski, Evan McGrath, David Bowl, and these kind of guys, you're competing at that age bracket. So to win that rookie of the year was definitely special. And, I felt it wasn't anything I was targeting for per se. It was more head down and just listening to Ludsey and figuring my way out and try to be a consistent, good player, consistently the best player I could be under Ludsey. And then at the end of it, I got that award. So it meant that, what Ludsey was showing me was really paying off.
Absolutely. Well, actually,
right, I'm going there, Findsy. Sure.
Here we go.
All right.
You were treated to London. From Mississauga there. Kind of describe the memories, maybe a bit about the streak, the Mem Cup, which was a first for London.
Yeah, it was a lot going on there when I got traded there. It was a bit of a whirlwind, draft year, getting to trade out of Mississauga. I had to demand a trade out of Mississauga.
So was that some family issues there or something? They wouldn't.
Excuse me?
What was the issues there? Why you wanted to get out of Mississauga? Was it something with your family? I read up there.
Yeah, the contract we had and that kind of sort of thing was getting questioned and pushed against, and they're just pushing buttons all over with me. And, they came in and it was just like, it was really bizarre. Not that I think I'm the greatest player in the world, but I didn't, I was a first overall draft pick to the organization the year before. So I just the way they came in and were just pushing around and pushing on certain things. And the thing with us is what we had in our contract was nowhere near what the rumors of other people are. It was literally so my family could get up there to watch me play and have somewhere to sleep. So those are the things we didn't come in there with the old first overall demands. So we thought it was kind of bizarre when things were getting taken away, and they weren't luxurious things. They were literally so my family could come. So that was, not to get too deep into that, but that really, and then it's draft year. So you're kind of like, okay, is this going to go on all year? Let's get rid of this distraction. Let's go somewhere. And London was obviously very well talked about team. So I had 4 teams that I wanted to go to, and London was one of them. And that came down to where I wanted to go. So when I got to London, it was again, eye-opening. I had a lot to learn, is even going there playing for Dale. The first year was a lot of, bumps in the road, so to speak, learning how he likes the game be played. And he was, he taught you, basically it was, you're going to learn his way and whatever it takes to learn that way. In the first year, I sat the bench a few times. Again, a shock to me going into even that 17-year-old year. I never been, I was always producing and having success. So I never been met with that roadblock to that point. But after that, the next year was unbelievable. 31 games undefeated. We lost my first year there, we lost to Guelph, game 7 at home. So we were really fired up, pissed off, whatever word you want to use. We thought we were the better team. I mean, obviously they won and they went on to the Mem Cup, but we really felt we were the better team. We were kind of shocked by that. And the next year we were pissed off, and we weren't going to be denied. And we had a really good team. The lockout was that year, so they ended up picking up Danny Fritchie. We had a couple good trades, like Dan Girardi came over. But even before those guys came over, we went 31 undefeated, and we didn't think we were going to lose all year. We were just coming in every night ready to put on a show. And, Corey Perry really emerged into an unbelievable hockey player that year. My first year there, he was a good hockey player, one of the top in the league. And then that year, he was the best player in the league by far. I think if you guys got a chance to watch that, his progression was insanity. So all these things were magical during that season. We were watching Pears just elevate his game to the next level. Personally getting a chance to elevate my game and start to have success. And then we had playoff success, and we won a championship. So then we did it in London, which was unbelievable.
Oh yeah. How was the party after that one?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It was, again, unbelievable. I mean, it was,
where'd you guys go?
We had so much fun.
Where'd you go? Did you go out or did you guys go out?
We went to the Barking Frog.
Oh, classic. Shouts to the Barking Frog, London.
Yeah.
We usually would have ripped up we usually would have gone over to Joe Cool's. I don't know why, but we had something set up at Barking Frog, and we were in the locker room for the longest time, though. We partied in there. It was so amazing. All the family, the whole team, everybody was in the locker room, and it was so much energy. It was amazing. Then we went out, and it was we got met with the whole city, basically. It was nuts.
Yeah, how much trouble can you get in London?
You're well padded, and the thing is, we were taught very well as well, and it was there was rules laid down. There's definitely rules, 3 rules, main rules, where you treat women with respect. There's no drinking and driving, and you don't fight in bars. So
I like that.
We were all pretty well mannered, and we knew if any of those lines got crossed, then things that we enjoyed were going to be taken away. So we kind of walked a fine line, and we made sure we enjoyed ourselves, but with respect. And the way we were received in London was amazing. We had I made so many great friendships there outside of hockey, even just by having those good times with people and celebrating our success together as a community was what made London really special.
There's so many junior teams out there, not just in the OHL, OJHL, Junior B. Outside of fans, there's only so many Londons and Guelphs and Kitcheners of the world where they pack the house. What really makes junior hockey to you, and in your opinion?
Next question.
I think junior hockey, the biggest part of it, not the biggest part, but a big piece of it is community and engaging in community. We did a ton of stuff in London, and I know it's a great hockey market as is, but it also made it even better that we did a lot of autograph signing stuff. We go to the children's hospitals. We did so much stuff in the community. We got to meet people and talk to people, and they got to see who we were. And that just built so much interest, on top of it being a hockey hotbed, obviously, by adding that flavor in where they actually get to know the players. When we started putting on the show at John Labatt Center, I know it's changed now, but when the GLC was rocking on Friday nights, it really was like a family gathering. We were part of the family. And being junior age kids, it's important to have that because it also helps you, to your point, how much trouble can you get into? If you feel like you're just here and it's a random city, it's a little bit different when you feel like you're a part of a community. You don't want to let people down in the community either. By doing dumb stuff.
Yeah. The reason I ask is there's so many teams out there, Rob, like Mississauga, Peterborough, and all them that are still drawing pretty well. But I mean, some of those towns, it's the main game, and they just haven't been able to figure out how to pack the house. If you're the commissioner of the OHL, what do you got to do to get people back in the stands outside just community work and things like that? Is the product good enough?
That's the thing with the London Knights. It's the product is always unbelievable. There's always 3-4 guys that are putting on highlight reels nightly, and they're winning a lot of winning. Dale's record is unbelievable. Dale and Mark's record since they took over it's insanity what they've done. But the product is always pretty solid in London. And even there's been a couple of years where they had a downtick a little bit, but they've bought themselves so much grace with the last, 15, 20 years, it's been pretty sick in London.
Yeah.
They get 2 World Cups now. They've been in OHL championships. They were at 3 World Cups in a row. They hosted one, but they put a lot of winning together, and that's kind of the key to success. Most London Knights fans go to the rink expecting a W. Not expecting, but I don't know if that's the right word. Mm-hmm. You're almost shocked if you lose, but that's a good thing for a fan. Your money's usually well spent.
Rob, you also having yourself a year, winning the Mem Cup and all. You also be selected to the juniors there in USA and went and played in the World Juniors. Can you touch a little bit on your experience there and how fun was that playing there?
Yeah, World Juniors was that was great. It was in Grand Forks my first year I played, and Civi and Pairs were on Canada. It was a wild experience because that was their super team. That team was insane. Getting a chance to play in North Dakota, though, in the U.S., University of North Dakota, I think it's called the Ralph Engelstad Arena. It's something to see. It's an amazing arena. And, the fans were wild. And then there was a ton of people that came down from Winnipeg because it's so close. Mm-hmm. And it was electric. It was actually really wild. And such that tournament style, pressure packed. It's so much fun to play in those atmospheres. And then once we lost out, obviously being able to pull for Pairs and Civi was awesome to see them accomplish that. Obviously, I would have liked that for us to be wearing the gold medal, but we got knocked out, so we didn't do our job. Seeing Pairs and Civ be on that and have that experience. Civi scored the game-winning goal. As a teammate in London, you're just really proud of those guys. And then it was great. Once we got back to London after the World Juniors, we just picked back up right where we left off.
Absolutely. Skipping ahead a bit to your NHL career, you kind of said you wanted to follow Connolly's career, the first OHL, NHL. So going in the NHL and the draft day, what were kind of your thoughts? Like, where did you think you were kind of go? Did you think you're going where you're going to go? And what was your day like on that day?
I really had no idea where I was going to go. There was a lot of, like I told you, that draft year was pretty hectic. Yeah. It was pretty wild. So a lot of my meetings were all about that. Why'd you get traded? Why'd you get benched? Why'd you get this? It was very confrontational. So I had no idea where I was going to go. It was not a lot of talk about my hockey. It was more talk about these issues. Yeah. So it was really up in the air. Projected as far as my ability, it was, top 10, top 15, and I went 25. So it was very bizarre because there was a lot of meetings I had that were, there's no way you're going to be here by our pick. So, but if you are, kind of thing, and those picks passed, like 10 of them passed. It was like really hard to it was like I guess frustrating or confusing, a lot of different words, and I had a lot of people in the stands, so it felt for me on that day it was a lot of pressure. And looking now back on hindsight, obviously at 34 years old, I can see through a different light or through different glasses. There's really no pressure on that day. Wherever you go is a blessing, and it's an opportunity and an achievement. So, but that day it was a lot. It was crazy because I had no idea where I was going, and I had an NHL camera hooked up to me and a mic, and they had the cameras going on me the whole time. So I never knew I was going to get a couple of those picks where they were like, if you're here, we're taking you. And the pick came, and I went to almost basically stand up, and then another name went. I was so embarrassed. I was like,
oh no.
It's brutal. Yeah, it was tough, but it was, it was something you work for, no, I wouldn't say that was my drive my whole life, but from 14 up, for 4 or 5 years straight, that's what I was focused on, was that day and where you get drafted. And, there's a competitive side in all this. And obviously you want to go higher just because you're, I think I'm better than that guy or whatever, you compete against each other. But at the end of the day, like I said, looking at it from hindsight, it's one day, and then the work actually just begins from that day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you were selected by Edmonton. They eventually send you back to London for one more year where you 57 goals, 57 games, and 145 points. Personally, just looking at that,
not good.
I would say you're NHL ready. Kind of what was Edmonton's theory, and how happy was London to have you back?
Yeah, that was. I was pissed off too, for sure. I thought I was ready. I went to camp and had a really good camp, and it is what it is. And so I was going to go back and prove a point, and I think I did my best to do that. And I was really fired up, and use the energy the right way and put it into my game. And I was pissed. I really wanted to make team, and that's I'm okay saying that, because I don't go to training camps and say, well, hopefully maybe I'm going to make this team. And I didn't. I put in a pretty good effort. I thought I could have made it. And then I really wanted to show when I got back to London, like, I don't belong here. Even though I love being in London, that's not the point. But I wanted to be at that higher level and taking the next step in my game, and getting better. And I felt like another year was, I won't say backwards, but I didn't need it. So we went out and David Bowl and myself, Dylan Hunter, Sergei Kostitsyn, we just went out there and tried to dominate. And I think it was the first 10 games, I think I had right around 50 or 60 points. So I proved my point off the hop. I wasn't going anywhere, so I kind of settled down, but used the fuel the right way. And then we even got to an OHL championship that year. Unfortunately, fell short. We lost to Peterborough, but that's a whole different story.
Right.
Yeah, I've always wanted to ask Robin. I mean, like I said, your skill is unquestionable. Your point production is unquestionable. What happened? Like, why? Why couldn't you stick? Because you go down to the A, you're kicking ass still. You're going down. You got 53 points in your first year. Most guys get the shot. Like, what are those conversations like that you're having with GMs and things like that?
Yeah, no communication really. Got my first game call up, first NHL game, like game 81 of the season. I think to be blandly honest about it, it just was a place where I got drafted, and it wasn't a fit. And I don't think that, I don't draft wanted the player that I was. They already had that in the roster. A lot of the people in the organization were really pulling for me because of, basically they saw it the same way you did. This guy's skill and his ability to put up numbers, and, they really pulled to draft me, and I don't think it was a good fit. It just wasn't a good fit. I mean, so
this is something that I've always wanted to talk about. Again, you're in the perfect situation to discuss this. There's a lot of guys out there that get absolutely ripped for either demanding a trade or asking for, I don't belong here. It's not the fact that I'm not good enough. I just don't belong here. How can players communicate that to GMs? Did you feel a little bit of pressure or maybe any, angst about talking to the GM, being like, I need to get out of here because I do not belong here. I belong somewhere else?
Yeah, it's tough to do. It's somewhere in the line of, I did it at 17, I got ripped. And that was something totally bizarre and totally not really like in this same scenario. It was more principle. In this scenario, it is what it is, but it's a first round draft pick. They're not just going to let you fly and take off. So it's also somewhere for me as an individual. Like I said, I did it once and I was the worst person in the world. So I wasn't going to do it again. It's like, I guess I'll just eat my crap and see what happens. And that's the way she goes. You just try to suck it up, make the best of it. And I'd say, I could take a lot on myself by the third year. I just I didn't put what it took to get in. I didn't put into it what I should have. I I felt like I lost my passion a little bit, lost my way. And I was really frustrated, and you see my point totals in the A really, really mirror that. It was a really long year. Just didn't have it. I lost focus. So the next year I got picked up by the Islanders, and that gave me just a little shot of life and adrenaline. And it's what I needed, was a clean slate or like a new slate, fresh page. And that was huge for me, because the next year not the next year, I got 1 year in the Islanders, and then the following season I got injured and I got sent down to the minors for the rehabilitation game. And it was like going from the NHL back down to the minors. It was like going to play against, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You're not insulting anybody. You're saying
I dominated the game, and I felt really good. And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe, like 2 years ago, I was half a point a game guy in this league, and I couldn't play. Like, at 42 points in 70 games that's a huge drop off. And like I said, fast forward 2 years later, and I went down there, and it was like, I can't believe I struggled here. So that new change of life was huge for me, and it gave me a chance to just start over a little bit and get a fresh start. Another thing too is going to the Eastern Conference. The Western Conference is a big conference. It's a massive conference. It's a lot of, back then it was all physical, and you had to, get in there and crash and bang. Even if you're a skill guy, it's still a gritty skill guy. You think of like a Jamie Benn type of player, Corey Perry. That's really what was kind of expected. It really wasn't the player I am. So the Eastern Conference was a little bit more fitted towards the way I played the game. I mean, I'm happy to go try to hit people, but it's almost embarrassing. Like, it's not when I'm in there trying to run.
Now they'd be Rob. Now they'd be praising you for it. Now they'd be praising you for your abilities, right? Like, that's kind of what for me, that's the part that's interesting on the coaching side and the hockey side, right? Like, it just the way the game has changed, and now you obviously playing in Europe and being able to, enjoy your life, still being able to play the game. And really, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. But when you were playing, you played one game with Atlanta. Did someone come up through? Did you kind of feel like, you know what, I'm done here. I've had enough of this, and I need to figure something out if I want to continue to play.
Yeah, no. After Atlanta, they brought the team to Winnipeg, and they offered me right away. The conversation started. It was like the contract talks were, well, can we get him to sign a 2A? And that's really, maybe I jumped the gun a little bit on that, but that's pretty evident where I'm going to wind up. I was a waiver pickup, and I didn't play that much, and they wanted a 2A contract. And that's really what a lot of the talk was. So I was like, yeah, I didn't want to go back to the minors. I told you my experience there. The third year of in the AHL, it kind of hit a wall. So I didn't want to have to climb back there. So I figured I'd go to Europe and throw up, there's been guys that go to Europe, prove a point, and come back. And that's really where I was at. And I went to a really good league in Sweden. So it was just somewhere along the lines of, I didn't want to climb that ladder. Let me try to climb a different ladder to get back.
Yeah, I got you.
A lot of the talk was about my skating as well. So I figured Sweden would be a good spot. That's one of the best skating leagues in the world. So I wanted to go improve, myself at that level. And got to play in a great organization. So it was that was the mindset. And after that year, the next year was a lockout. So there was no coming back. Kind of crappy timing. But that's kind of that's where I got, I'd say, I wouldn't say stuck, but that's really where, my direction sort of changed, and I became a European hockey player. I wasn't going to get back.
Rob, before I get touched in your overseas career, I kind of want to go back to your Islanders. You scored your first NHL goal with them, I believe. How do you kind of remember that goal? Who was it against? What goalie? And do you still have that puck?
Yeah, that was against the Boston Bruins, Tim Thomas, and I remember the goal vividly.
Nice.
I was tickling the rafters one time where Kyle Oposo was walking off the opposite half wall as a righty, and he looked right at me, and I was like, give me this. If he gave it to me, I was going far down. And he goes to pass it to me, and it hit a stick, and it went directly 90 degrees on net, and then Matt Molson was there where he always is, and he started banging away at it, and I remember I was like, okay, just creep in here, and I was actually behind the net, behind the goal line, and the puck squeaked through Thomas's arm and his pad where he had it squeezed, and Matty Molson knocked it free, and I just banked it off the back of Tim Thomas's leg.
Nice.
And not the way I imagined the first one. Like I said, I imagined that seam pass coming over for a one-timer, shelf, but I'll take it. And I celebrated. I think I almost broke Mark Straight's back. I jumped into his arms and just celebrated, and the boys came around. So it was a special moment. It was really amazing.
Okay, so your first year's overseas, you signed with Moto there. You had a bunch of legends kind of leading that team. I believe was Naslund was the GM and Forsberg's assistant GM and who else was there? Am I missing? So Ulf Samuelsson, wasn't he the head coach at the time? Yeah. What kind of was it like being around all those kind of legends of the game, and what did they teach you?
Yeah, it was amazing. Alfie, obviously being the coach, he was awesome. He was really supportive and let me play and gave me some rope to maneuver. And I remember one time, like 2 or 3 games in, I was playing the point, the power play, and I went to make a seam pass, and it just it's kind of a lucky break for the PKer, hit his stick, and it bounced straight in the neutral zone. The guy goes on a breakaway and scores, and I just was like, he's like, hey man, like he pulled me away after the game. He's like, hey, listen, I don't want you to get gun shy. He's like, I saw what you saw. And the hole that you're trying to hit is this big. And he goes, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to hit that for me. He's like, don't let this one make you, not like lose your confidence. And that was huge. Yeah. After that, I was like, oh, that's amazing. I thought I was going to get, ripped.
Ripped, yeah.
So he was really good. I love playing for Alfie. And he was so fired up on the bench. He'd get emotional. I love that. He's competitive. Just like when he played, he was a warrior. Some guys say whatever, he wore big gear and half shield, but I watched a lot of old hockey games, and he battled hard. He battled really hard. And the way he was on the bench, he was competitive. He wanted to win. So I really enjoyed playing for him. And there was a few times Marcus and Naslund came down. Marcus and Peter came down and fired the boys up, got the boys going. So, having those guys around was something really unique. And have that be the first year over in Europe, I was happy with that arrangement because, like I said, my goal was to go there, do well, come back. And doing it in front of those guys was a good feeling.
Big time.
Schrempy, would you say just when you went to Europe, comparing it to your time in the NHL and the AHL, would you say it's more suitable to the style that you played, and how much easier was it on you, physicality and demand on just yourself?
The game is totally different, the physicality sense of it. Obviously the smaller barn, bigger guys, it's a lot more physicality in North America, but the game is so much different in Europe. It's way more strategic. The ice is bigger. They pack the center of the ice, the tight in the house or in the offensive zone. They really pack it in the middle, so it's tough to create offense there. And you see it, a lot of guys are, a really, really good player in these top leagues is a point of game player. It's not 150 points. That's what when I first came over ignorant. I didn't know anything about European hockey. I thought I was going to torch it. My first 10 games, and then back to Alfie, my first 10 games, I had 3 points. And I was like, whoa. I was planning on coming over, first 10 games like junior.
Yeah.
And it was a real eye opener. So the game was way different, way more strategic. North America is more of a one pass. It's like bang, bang, where in Europe, it's, you almost have to string together 2 passes to get to score a chance or get a point. So it's a lot more skill in that aspect. You got to give it to a guy, and then he's got to see the next play. Where in North America, it's draw a guy out of position, you pass it, somewhere around the faceoff dot or in that area, and it's a goal, scoring chance or a goal. So learning that was unique. But the physicality side of it, it was much. You had to be in much better shape, in my opinion, to play in Europe. A lot less. What am I trying to say? Less weight. Like a lighter player. You don't need that extra corner weight. You don't need the extra oomph. You need more endurance and skating legs. So, guys, you don't run out of position in Europe too, because when you run out of position for a hit, it opens something wide open.
These guys will find it, obviously, because they're so used to playing that type of style. They're looking for holes. They're looking for guys. Like, there's that Canadian kid. He's going to try to hit me, and he's going to really screw this up.
Exactly. Yeah, come get me, idiot.
And then you went and played in Riga in the K. I want to talk about that. You hear guys talk about Russia and Belarus, and there's always some crazy things that guys that are in the back of their mind or happen to them. Anything unusual or anything like that happen when you're over in Russia?
No, Latvia is a small country. It's where we are now. Obviously, we live, but that was one of the enticing things to come here. It wasn't inside of Russia. So we've heard all these stories. You got to have a driver there, a security guy, armed driver when you play there at some of these spots, and it's no joke. I've got plenty of buddies that still play there, and that's serious. The first thing you do is you hire a driver, and he's kind of a bodyguard. But the year that I got here was actually the year after the plane crash too. So it was kind of intimidating going on road trips. To be honest with you. Every trip is like, man, is this, they got gas in here? Like, did they do everything right? Did they check all the stuff? Like, it was that. There was no horror stories in any other regard than, the way that I got fired here. Actually, I was 5 months in, I was here, and the team was doing really bad towards the bottom. My time here as far as hockey wasn't the greatest per se. Yeah, I was put on the fourth line within like 3 games into the season, and then really didn't have much playing time, and I was kind of getting the same pressure like I should be producing. So it was weird, and then I was one of the higher paid guys, so they decided to cut my contract. But that's kind of it. The way that works too is sometimes they can just cut you.
Yeah, NFL salary style.
Yeah, you can.
Nothing's guaranteed, boy.
You're out.
When'd you meet
my Commodore say, pack your shit.
When did you meet your wife? Because she's European, right?
Yeah, she's from Latvia. So I met her inside that window that I played here, and we started to hang out and date each other. And then I moved to Austria, and she was a skier for a long time growing up. So maybe that's why she stuck with me. But she kept coming to Austria, and just hit it off, and we stayed together. Now we have a daughter and a family. So I met her here, right downtown Riga.
Yeah, you done having kids, or you got more European kids coming?
Yeah, we'll see. We're at that terrible 2 stage right now, so it's one of those things people keep asking. You're like, I can't even fathom right now, but I'm absolutely sure we'll have another kid. I just probably not tomorrow.
Yeah. So besides meeting your wife overseas, what's kind of some of your? Did you get to travel at all? What's some of your favorite countries, favorite places you've seen, kind of favorite things you've done?
Switzerland and Austria are both kind of similar. Beautiful countries, mountainous, and the skiing's amazing. The après skis and Switzerland was absolutely. It's like living in a postcard. It was unbelievable. The bus rides were phenomenal. They're short, first of all, and then you're going in and out of mountains the whole time. So it was so cool. It was such an eye opener, and it was such a great experience. And it's totally different than riding the bus through Binghamton and Syracuse. A little different scenery, but Switzerland was beautiful. And you get the Olympic team break, or the national team breaks. They have 3 of them a year, so it's in November, December, and February. So those are 3 opportunities. You usually get 4 or 5 days off as a team, and then everybody can kind of go about their way and do what they want, and wherever you can kind of get to on a short flight, you get to go travel and see other places. So it was really cool. Definitely totally different. Couldn't even imagine. I mean, we had the Olympic year when we were in Long Island. That was unbelievable. But other than that, most years you don't just randomly get 2 weeks off in the middle of the year 3 times. It was pretty cool. It's a good time to reset too. A couple times on that though, you're going into those breaks on a hot streak. You're like, I want to keep playing. I don't want that break. And then a couple times it was like, okay, I'm playing like crap. This break is perfect. So there's 2 sides of the coin with that.
Absolutely. And you've kind of said in your career, you're really much of the rough and tough guy, but you you had one fight in your career against Daryl Boyce. What happened? What kind of happened there? And you kind of gave it to him, eh?
Before he answered, Adam is like, Adam's our guy. Like, he's the digger of the show. Like, he digs and finds all the great stuff that the guy's like, damn, I forgot about that. So he's got a couple others I want to kind of hear. I bet he's got a few in the gun.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I was getting ripped on a different podcast. Someone found that and said that the report was that I got pumped. And that was not true at all. I'm not going to sit here and say I beat up Daryl Boyce. I did not beat him up. I did well in the fight. And I remember the one thing I was super proud of was that I switched to lefts right at the end. Yeah. And I was just pumped about that. And Wes Rippon was our tough guy, and he's super tough. And I remember just bragging. I was like, "You see those lefts, Ripper? You're scared. You're scared." And
so many lefts, you're begging for a right. The old Tydomi.
But I remember it was by the bench, and off the draw, he took the draw. He took his stick right up in my groin. One time, I look at the ref. He did it again. Look at the ref, and he did it a third time. And then Ludzik from the bench is like, "Screw it, Sharpie, go him." So I was like, take a second after that, I was like, yeah, he's right. I got to go. Yeah. So I dropped with Daryl, and I hung in there, and it's my only tilt. I never got another tilt after that. Never had to, but I always enjoyed knowing how to fight. I had some great fighters through my career. like I mentioned, Wes Rippin, and then the next year playing with Prusty and Danny Bois, my pro career, guys like Dennis Bonvie, Trevor Gillies. Like there were so many tough guys around. I always liked wrestling around with those guys after practice. So if it ever came to the point of having to drop them, I was ready to go, but I never had, I didn't play a confrontational game. So not many people were knocking on my door to punch my teeth in.
You're the scary, quiet guy though. Gotta be aware of that.
Right.
Schremp, you've got 44 hockey vision going here. Yeah, vision hockey going there. You've got quite a team with a unreal hockey resume. Kind of for people that don't know what it's all about, just explain what it is you guys got going on and what you do for players.
So with our platform, we use players' game films. They submit the game film, or if we can track it down for them, we do through the various channels that are all recording these games. And on an individual basis, we go through the game films and just insert our knowledge and experience kind of into their game. Show them these little tips or pointers, or give them the information of what it takes to succeed in these certain situations. Whether it's a defenseman working with the Danny Savrett, certain ways to shake forecheckers or break the puck out. If it's offensively, I'll go into a guy's game film or a girl's game film and show them the tricks of the trade on the half wall, what the details are, what to look for, and then also at the same time give them practice plans to kind of execute these things. So it's basically handing down our knowledge and experience in the game to players on an individual basis. And the teams and the players when they're on their team, the coach. And that was my thing. When I played my career, I remember thinking back, I was like, man, all the game film was always about team structure, like left wing lock or 1-2-2 or 2-1, whatever that might be. It was all about that kind of verbiage. And it was never about like, hey, you had this defenseman's feet turned the wrong way, or here's an area, here's how you succeed in this instance or this sequence. Here's how you can manipulate this play. It was never that detailed. So this is where I thought it was a good way to get in there and help players. And we've really had a great impact so far, even just launched in May, but we've got about 50, 60 clients that have come to the platform and they love what we're doing. And once they sign up and see exactly what it is, they really enjoy the feedback. And, that third party, well-respected knowledge per se, our resumes speak for ourselves, or speak for themselves. And it's really just taking that attention and giving it right to that player. And it's helping them get better. And then when they get back into their own team setting, they maximize their opportunities. They understand what presents itself to net or offensively, how to create it. It's really unique. And I don't say it's not proprietary by any means, but the people that we've gathered on the platform are really well-resumed players and have a lot of knowledge and experience in the game. And the women's side of it's huge as well. We have 5 Olympic team member girls. We have 3 gold medal. I think it's 3 gold medal, 2 bronze, and 2 silver. 2 bronze and 2 silver. So these girls have great experience at the highest levels. The men as well, and it's something special. I thought it was a good way to have an impact on the game. Instead of just doing it on my own per se and using my name and kind of grabbing 10, 20 clients, I want to do it in a big scale and also help the women's game. So
who on the women's side? Who on the women's side?
Amanda Pelkey, Rebecca Johnson, Brianna Decker, Nicole Hensley, Blake Bolden, Brooke Willechko. We have 4 NWHL girls as well. So it's kind of giving the girls an opportunity to coach and have a kind of make some money doing this. I think it's really important to have these girls find a way to give their knowledge back and experience back into the game, but also be compensated for it as well. I think that's something where on the men's side that really is way more prevalent than.
Listen, they need you guys. They need you guys to help, and they need the NHL, and they work just as hard as the men do. They just don't get the benefit. Like they still train the same. This. They still train the same. They still go to the gym. They just don't have the. They do, and they just don't have the physical attributes, and that's not their fault. So, but the problem is that on the men's side, we always fault them for their physical attributes, but that's nothing they can control. Their mental side of the game, the way they train, is just as good, and unfortunately just don't have the following. And I understand it's entertainment, but if you get to know these women, and obviously you do, they're amazing. I mean, Dove Secret just stepped up and gave $1 million to the PWHPA, the probably one of the largest endorsement deals in history, I would assume, on the women's side outside of soccer, because they get money all the time. But, I think that money's going to go a long way. Do you think the NHL's got to step up and support these women to help at least give them a living wage? You don't got to become multimillionaires.
Yeah, I think that would be a huge help. And I think, so for me, I've been pretty close to the women's game, paying attention, and also in different avenues involved. And this is where I came to my personal solution to help is the growth of the game. How do we do that? And that's how we got to here. Create a lane for them to give their knowledge and experience back in the game, and at the same time, they can be compensated while doing it. So it's not charity work. It is them getting financially supported, and then the women's game getting growth supported by high-end people. I think a lot of it comes at the youth levels. It's a lot of volunteer work, and I think there's a cap on the hockey IQ, the hockey knowledge that's being passed down to the girls. So it's, it takes them to their 16, 17 to hit those top tier levels to kind of get some growth and get some high-end coaching. I think if you can start injecting that from an Olympic, team member at 12, 13, 14 years old, that fast forwards growth. And I think that's what supports the league. When you start to have 600, 700, 800 women's players that are very entertaining to watch, high-end skill, because that's who you're talking to is consumers, right? Like, you make money, you got to have consumers, you got to have people coming through the doors, you got to have ticket sales, and that's what's important. So how do you get there? We got to get to 700, 800 women that are top-level players. How do we get there? Growth. And that's how I saw it, at least, and just try to help hit that number. So then you can have two leagues. You can have an AHL and an NHL and an AHL, NWHL or whatever, WNHL, WHL.
Yeah.
And then you have a feeder league, and then you have more jobs, and then you have more talent pool. That's how I see it, at least.
Do you think to create that entertainment at the older league, let's say midget and up, do you think that women's hockey should be introduced to some form of body contact to make the game a little bit more entertaining for the people watching?
I spoke about this, and I truly believe it. And I always walk, and I want to make sure I get my point across very clear of why I say this. And I say this because I think we need to speak to consumers, and that's who supports the league. That's who supports the NHL. I mean, it's consumer based, and fans in the building, and buying the jerseys and buying this and buying that. I think I said it on Spit and Chicklets. I think the rinks need to be smaller, because what we are doing is the women are on the same ice as the men, and our eyes can't differentiate. Like, I'm not going to, and it's not because they're a girl and that's a guy. It's because Patrick Kane walking off the ball is so fast and so good at it. He's so fast and so good at it to me. And then to compare them with that product, you're talking about it as product. It is a product. The players are a product, men or women, and you got to figure out the way the consumer sees it. And if you bring the ice in a little bit,
thank you,
you're really going to see their skill level. Their skill level is amazing.
I literally,
again, you don't have a Brent Burns. You don't have a 6'3" girl that's 230 pounds can fly and rip clappers.
Just Carolyn Willett. She might have something to say about that. I don't know. I coached against her. If she was born, like, she should have played the NHL. She's that funny, and she's big, and she's good, and and she is she is scary, but man, the greatest human on the planet. But man, Rob, I'm telling you, you're preaching to the choir here. I don't know how many times I've mentioned this and said that for the women's game, like, if you go on YouTube, the best game I ever coached was Calgary 14 Team Canada women versus Brampton Thunder. Our game, they're up 5 to 6 to 1, and we beat them in shootout 8 to 7. On small ice, Brampton Memorial Arena, which is like playing in a sardine can. And they literally, it was the best game I've ever coached and was able to be a part of. And I'll tell you, it's if they get but they don't like it. They don't want to play on small ice. But I said, it's not. We're trying to entertain. We want to give you, people want to give you money, but they want to give you money for the entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, that's the business side of it. The NHL has 100+ years of experience to build their foundation. So it's really when it comes down to it. And the guys that played in the 70s and 80s they're so rattled because of the money that guys are making now. But that was built over 100 years. It's taken a long time to get to that point where you have these salaries where they're at and a product that's worth what it is. And what's most important is consumers. And if you got to get people in the seats buying, you have interest to buy jerseys, have interest to come to these autograph signings, have interest to do these things. Those are very valuable to your product. And if, so sometimes it's a matter of that, but I don't know. I just think, for me, it's from experience too. I played in Europe, right? I went from NHL, and I feel like being in tight, in close, I walk off the half wall, I take a slap shot from the top of the circles on the face-off dot line. I can snipe for sure. Like, not for sure, but very confident. I walk off the half wall in Europe to the face-off circle, to the face-off dot line, and I take a slap shot. I'm like 6 or 7.
You still got to throw a pass 100 yards.
It's like playing catch with the goalie. So in that regard, I feel like bringing the ice in a little bit gives you more entertainment. It just brings everything tighter in. And for me, having the men's sheet bigger than the women's sheet, again, you can learn. I think you're bringing equality in. And you're seeing how valuable they are, and how good they are, and how entertaining they are. And that's my view on it. I could be wrong. I'm sure people have different opinion, but that's my, from my experience in hockey, what I see and what I think would help. Am I
like
right?
out on walks? Like if you what's the size of the rink down in Dover? Like what's the size down there?
205 by 85 or something like that.
Okay. Styles as a goalie, like what did you prefer playing on? Did you like the small rink? Did you like the bigger? Well, goalies want the big rink. You big.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, you get like Rob was saying, he wants a snipe from the corner.
You got more time to think about stuff. Yeah, when you're in tighter, it's a lot more challenging. You don't like the players are snapping shots off when you don't know what's coming and stuff. They're like Rob said, they're a lot a lot tighter from the hash marks in the circle than in Europe than in the NHL, right? They're way in tighter where he's probably gonna go up over my shoulder and I'm not even gonna see it. Where in Europe, like you said, I'm playing catch with them. So yeah, I'd take the bigger ice, but the product comes and the more entertainment comes with the smaller ice, absolutely. And while on the women's topic, Rob, what's your thoughts there on the Dodgers signing a woman there for their GM?
Yeah, that's amazing. I think there's so much great stuff going on, and for the women in sports, there's so much growth happening, and I think there's tons of room for it to grow. I think it's really exciting in women's sports right now. I think there's a lot of, what they say, the expression glass ceilings that are breaking, and things are happening that are awesome. We've seen women's football coaches, you get a general manager in the MLB. I think it's amazing. For me, it's whoever's qualified. Now I'm happy. I'm glad that this is happening. I think it's really important, for girls to really be able to dream to have that job and want that job. You know what I mean? Because it gives them a goal in their life and something to shoot for and take the building steps to get to that spot. I think it's going to have so much growth in the women's side of it for them to realize that they can get those cool. Not say cool. It is a cool job. I wish I was a GM.
You still can. You're young. You got the resume. What are you, 34?
It's a great gig. Yeah.
Oh, it's a fantastic gig. You just have to study a little bit, know some numbers, and that's why I'm not a GM. That's why I coach and just tell people to go here, go here, go here.
X's and O's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rob, and even then, you never know. I'm more of an emotional coach.
Yeah. A big story I came across I really want to touch on here, kind of hear from your mouth. I came across a story, you wrestling a gator.
The digger is digging. The digger is digging. Yeah. Let's go.
Tell me what happened here on this.
I was actually going on a podcast. I was going on a radio show. The guy called me, and I was fishing, and the gator was coming in closer and closer. I've been like, since I was like an 8-year-old kid, we used to go down on vacations to South Carolina, and I would always get in shit for trying to go after the gators. My parents would look away for a minute, and I'd be trying to grab a gator. So anyways, the guys called me, and I was fishing, and I'm reeling in, this gator's chasing my lure ends. And I was like, hey man, I got a gator on right now. I was like, I gotta call you back. Do you mind? He's like, yeah, sure. So I reeled in the gator. I got him. I clubbed it, had him on the shore, and I got my photo op with it. And then I let it go, and I called the guy back. He's like, was he wrestling a gator? I'm like, it wasn't a monster. It was like a 3-4 foot gater. But
Styles, did you find the picture? Is it online?
Yeah, there's a picture somewhere online.
Oh my God! Make sure you find that. I want to see it.
Down in Florida, it was gators all over the place, man.
Yeah, you see the one? Did you see the one that they were showing there the other day? The guy was golfing.
Right,
Thing looked like a freaking truck, just walking across the tee box.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one is huge. I should
Yeah,
have
literally. Like if you've never seen a human being before, you think that was the first dinosaur.
Yeah.
Like, this thing was huge.
I don't know if
Oh
that's
my god!
Yeah, that's right.
Did you print that? Did you
Yeah.
print that off? This is getting even better. This guy's printing off. That's how prepared we are.
That Gator that went viral, that's where I used to play all the golf when I first moved down to Naples, Florida.
Oh,
Yeah,
seriously?
are you
Valencia golf
golfer?
course.
Yeah,
I can play.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah,
Did
92, pretty
Did you
good.
see big gators out there often?
Oh, there's all over the place. The Gators are literally everywhere. The Gators are like everywhere. Move them unless they're over 8 feet. So we literally had one in our community that was 6-7 foot long. That's a big gator. Like,
Jesus.
you know, that the one I caught there is a tiny little guy, but like a little bit bigger is ripping your hand off if he gets you, or grabbing your kid if it gets a hold. Like that's the worrisome part of it. It's like it's hard to believe that they're everywhere. Wherever there's water, there's gators down in Florida.
What's the scary animal in Latvia?
They don't.
There's no animals here in Latvia.
There's nothing here. That's why we moved here.
Yeah, I was telling walks. My cousin and took me down on a golf trip, South Carolina. There, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, and we ran in some gators on the course one time. His ball, it probably wasn't too close, but 30 yards close enough for us. And there's a pack. There's probably 3 or 4 of them laying on the grass. Yeah, all he kept saying is, "You just keep your eyes on those guys. Don't let them come near him. If they move, tell me, and we're hopping that cart and boogie." So I just watched the guy as soon as he shot the shot. Get in the cart, let's go! And it was hilarious. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing coming across gators while you're golfing.
Schrempy, you retired in 2018 there from playing. And we spoke about it a little bit before it. You're back listed as playing this year in Latvia. Kind of explain what it's like to get the skates back on. And I believe you're a point a game, so you obviously haven't lost your touch.
COVID gotta make money.
There's a bunch of guys here skating. Guys were waiting for jobs. They had an open skate. There was like 20 or 25 of them, and I wanted something to do, kind of for exercise. So I went out and skated, and it's still, my hands were still there, my vision was still there. I will say my conditioning is not top notch.
Ice lungs. Oh, those are
ice
the
lungs are But after this guy got a couple skates, and the guy was like, "Hey, you gonna play?" And I was like, "No, I retired." And he's like, "My buddy owns this team. Would you want to play it?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Why not?" It's more get out of the house, get in the locker room, shoot the breeze, have that kind. I do miss that banter, locker room banter, and now that I got 44 vision hockey, this is something it's literally a hobby. It's not, I'm not doing it for a living. There's not those stressors or that pressure or whatever. So it's more just to really enjoy the game and get back and just be on the ice, be in the locker room, and give me something to do. A lot of my work starts at 3-4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or that's our time. It's 3-4 o'clock for us here. It's 9 o'clock back there. So give me something to do in the morning and get some exercise in. But by no means am I trying to take it anywhere. I promise you that. Nowhere.
Robbie, one of the biggest impacts in your life came across while your wife is pregnant. You kind of said you felt like you're having some mini strokes, whatnot. You visited the doctor, found out you're actually suffering from depression, anxiety. It's kind of 2-part question. So you figured like how hard was that on you, hearing about that, and that kind of ended your career. And then also coming back to North America and meeting up with Vita Sport, I believe it was, and trying CBD, which I believe you said you wanted to kind of try all along through the prescription. How important is it for all these pro sports to kind of accept the CBD route instead of the prescription route? That's so much harder on players, and you hear so many tragedies with the prescriptions and going down the wrong paths, and some cases ending people's lives. What's kind of your thoughts on those kind of topics?
Yes, for me, I've known I had depression for a long time, since I was about 12 years old. I had some issues and scary stuff, and it would always kind of subside and go away, and I'd just bury it, never faced it per se or dealt with it, did the proper steps to kind of address it. it just came out later on in life. And then, and 31 years old, I started getting anxiety attacks. Now I know they're anxiety attacks, but I literally thought they were strokes. I was getting them quite often. And, that was scary, for sure. It was weird though. At the same time, I was playing some of the best hockey, my career. And, sometimes for me, depression is, it's a weird thing for me. When I would get depressed, sometimes I would play my best hockey in it, which is, it's really scary. It was almost like, I was in such a dark place, my mind would go off and I would just play on instinct, which is, wish I could have figured a way out to do that without being super depressed. It's hard on me, and it, the things you do when you're dark is not good for yourself.
Probably couldn't enjoy as much on it, yeah.
Not joy as much, and just the mask, drinking and doing, not addressing the issue is a big problem with that. But finally getting diagnosed, first of all, I knew I had the depression, but getting on the right path with the depression and understanding what I needed to do, ask for help, see therapy, and then the second part of it to know that it was anxiety, I was really relieved. I literally thought I was having strokes. My whole arm was going numb. I had it a couple times during the game, and my thoughts were like, please, lights don't go out, don't go out, don't go out. And all of a sudden, I just be like, whoa, that was screwed up. So I was going through some stuff. And, then, like when I got back to the States, I started using CBD and it was huge for me. It had such a big impact for me. I was taking Xanax every other day before that. And that's how many times I was having an anxiety attack. I was having anxiety attacks almost every other day. And I started taking CBD, and inside of a month, I didn't take a Xanax. 2 months in, I didn't take a Xanax, wasn't taking sleeping pills. So I was like, holy crap, like it really had an impact. Because Xanax is powerful and so are sleeping pills. I think we all know that. Anybody that takes any of these things know that help. So for me, it's before taking the CBD, if you would have told me I would have done that, I'd have been like, there's no chance. So it's almost a thing where I was in a spot where I wanted to get natural. If I was going to take Xanax, Xanax was very numbing. It just shuts everything off, and that's fine and dandy. But when you have you have a baby in your life and a wife, you can't just shut off. That was really important to me. I wanted to be what's the right word? I wanted to be a present father, present husband. So it really had a huge impact for me, and that's why I jumped behind it. I invested in a company, and I'm a firm believer in it. I'd say I took sleeping pills, took Xanax. I understand them all. I had muscle relaxers. I got it. Like, it's not one of these things of like, don't do it, don't do that. It's more like, give this a try. Like, try CBD, give it a go. I mean, if it doesn't work, then it is what it is. You use what you got to use. But for me, it had a huge impact, and it changed a lot. It stopped taking the hard stuff, and it gave me a natural path, which is huge. And I think I understand addiction and, what kind of lanes it can take you down. So it's really important. The message was really important to me, having walked the path, and again, taking the muscle relaxers or taking whatever it took to sleep, having the experience with it. I could speak for the other side of it too, and just say, hey, give it a go. Like, I'll tell my story. Here's how it went for me, and do what you do. But at least have a thought about it, because, there's a lot of stuff happening. The baseball player, I think last year from the Angels, it overdosed. He's taking sleeper. He's taking a lot of stuff. Those are hard pills, and mixing alcohol with it, not very good idea.
Well, Rob, listen, it's a great message, and glad you've worked through all of that. It sounds like you've got a fantastic life going over there in Latvia with obviously your young daughter. And listen, we really appreciate you coming on the show. We know obviously in Europe, you're 6 hours ahead of us. You got a lot going on. And the only question I have before you go is, where can I get that hat?
This is Ducky Brand. So this is a mental health brand, and all the sales that go through this company, Andrew Shaw is a part of it. Brian Bickle are part of it. They're actually in Canada. So Ducky Brand Apparel. You can find them on Instagram or even online. And I teamed up with them, with Aiden, and told him I would help out in any way possible. And I love first of all, I saw the hat and I was like, oh my God, what is it? And I saw Bix. I knew Bix from when we grew up. I grew up playing against Brian Bickle and the junior and Pee Wee even. And then I'm obviously someone that's strongly believe in helping out in the mental health space as much as possible with my story, and helping with companies like this that support mental health, and their proceeds go back towards mental health and helping people out. So check them out, and you can get this.
Ducky Brands. I like that. I got the snag one. All right, we're gonna do a quick rapid fire to finish up like we normally do. I know we know that's how we go. So I'll let Adam start it off. I know he's gung ho. He's probably like 20 questions that he wants to ask. So,
big golf guy. Who are your picks before today's Masters and now? Since it's pretty, I don't know what it is now. I've checked lately, but DJ of the field.
I liked Rom, and I did like DeChambeau, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I got DeChambeau. That didn't work out so well.
Yeah, a lot of people had him. He kind of disappointed.
Walker, you got a quick one?
Well, let me think on this. Actually.
Nope, too late. Nope, too late.
Yeah.
Best coach you ever had?
Steve Ludwig. Or Don Kernan. That's tough. You put me on the spot with that.
That's why it's rapid fire. You're not supposed to know.
Steve Ludwig.
Go on.
Let's go Bauer or CCM.
I'm Bauer guy.
I'll try to make this quick, but you made some comments there. I'm a big Leafs fan on Johnny T. Do you believe he's captain worthy?
Yeah, I'd say yes.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I'm going to end on that because that's a good one. Anyways, this is, again, guys, I'd like to thank everyone for watching Off the Puck Hockey. We're a proud member of the FHN Network, and we ask you to please follow at Off the Puck Hockey on Twitter and Instagram. You can check us out. New episodes on Rogers TV, Channel 20, Saturday nights at 9 p.m. I want to thank our guest, Rob Schremp, for joining us. And again, thanks to Styles, Mike Walker for helping us out, and for being with me as always. Matt Huddle, our producer, running a tight ship, and big shout out to Marty Zylstra providing us the music for the show. I'm your host, Tyler Fines. Rob, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks a lot, boys. It's great talking to you.
Thanks, Shrimpy. That was awesome.
Yep. You can find our show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Off the Puck Hockey, Rogers TV. Let's go. Hey, thanks, man, for coming on. That was great.
No problem, boys.
Thanks, Shrimpy.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. No, we really appreciate that. That was fun.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this. I was really looking forward to this. Did you played spring hockey a bit up in Toronto?
Played a ton up in Toronto when I was young.
You did, man. We played against each other back in the day. I played for the Black Aces. I actually played. I had Patty on my team one day, and we were playing against. I think were you and Anthony Stewart on a team together?
No, Stewart was.
He's an 85 because you're an 86.
Yeah,
I think you were playing up though. I think you played up.
Yeah. I played a bunch. I played with honestly everybody. That people would ask me.
I didn't last long in the one tournament because fucking Stewie ran me over and knocked me out. So I played my first shift.
Monster.
Dude, we were talking about him the other night on